With the fact that in the cultivation of Shamatha, the theme of balance is everywhere and it's central. The initial cultivation of a sense of ease and relaxation, but balancing this without such that you're not losing. Cultivating the stability of attention, the stillness, composure of attention, but without losing the underlying sense of relaxation, balance. And then cultivating the vividness, the clarity, the high acuity of attention, but without losing the stability. So again, it's a balance all the way through. And then as we mature in the practice, then it's a synergistic balancing of all three of these, reinforcing and balancing themselves. But it also should be equally obvious that the refined, skillful, expert balancing of these three qualities could be applied to every type of activity. From robbing a bank to acts of terrorism to improving your golf swing to meditation to cultivating bodhicitta. I mean, really for everything. The most nefarious activities and the most sublime. So there's nothing about them that anyway guarantees that the type of activity to which one applies these types of balance will be meaningful or worthwhile. And so let's broaden. I'd like to take the same theme of balance from your old balance wala, be Alan Wallace, and broaden this out to a larger context for Dharma practice, and specifically within the wisdom I'm going to share with you, and I really think it is wisdom, I'm just passing it on, is explicitly from the Buddhist tradition. It's everywhere. It's in the Pali Canon and the Mahayana. It's everywhere. At the same time, I think by the time I finish talking, you'll see that it's quite universal, actually completely universal in its applicability to any type of meaningful endeavor. Right? And so what I'm getting at here is, just as in the cultivation of shamatha, we're taking our skills of mindfulness and introspection, which we already have. We already have these as faculties. Everybody can bear in mind something. Even a schizophrenic person can bear in mind something for a little while. And a schizophrenic person may be quite aware that the devil is inside him, introspectively. Okay, it's delusional. But even a schizophrenic person, whose person is, psychotic, still has these faculties of mindfulness and introspection. So everybody does, right? But we take these faculties which we already have, and then through refined, I think highly intelligent training, then we refine these faculties, and so they really come into their strength, into their power. Yeah? Well, in a similar fashion, but now we're casting the net more broadly, in a way that's relevant to the entire path to enlightenment. We have in the Buddhist teachings, within the 37 aspects of enlightenment, we have five faculties. Five faculties. They're very widely known, but not terribly strongly emphasized as far as I can tell, but I think they should be. Five faculties, and then through training, refining them, strengthening, then they turn into five powers or five strengths. Right? And so I find a great deal of wisdom here. I'm going to speak about it a little bit, and then we're going to practice, go right back to meditation. So what are these five powers? Well, I don't recall any particular order. I don't have it. There may be some meaningful order. I'm not quite sure, but I'm just going to get them out. And so the five faculties are, I'm going to put them in pairs, but of course there's going to be one left over for a very good reason. Pairs. So here they are. I'll just list them first. A term that's generally translated as faith, and I have no objection. It's called faith. It's shraddha in Sanskrit, or taba in Tibetan. Faith is one. This is going to be balanced with intelligence - wisdom, prajna, or sherab. So there's a pair. Faith and intelligence. Those two. And then we have another pair, and the other pair is this term virya, or nsundu in Tibetan. It's translated in various ways, and it's translated as effort, as energy, as diligence, enthusiastic perseverance, probably some others as well. But I'm going to use the word enthusiasm. And it's not just my personal predilection, but if we go into kind of the professional literature on this, we find the definition of this virya is not just effort, just striving, just diligence. They gloss it as gewalatoa, taking delight in virtue. But it has a quality of delight. delight, not just trying hard. So diligence, well, diligence is important. Sometimes we have to, I don't really like filling out my income tax forms. It's not something I look forward to, But I just have to get through it. I don't know that I'll ever develop enthusiasm for it. Like, boy, I hope April's coming soon. I can hardly wait to get all my... Probably not in this lifetime. But I do it regularly, try to do it as meticulously, as carefully as I can. Don't want to have a run-in with the law. But that's just sheer diligence. That's patience, it's fortitude, getting through it, And that's not virya. That's in the realm of kshanti, of patience, fortitude, forbearance, true grit, right? Which is said to be like beating a donkey going uphill. The donkey doesn't want to go uphill, wants to go downhill. You just keep on whacking on the rump and it will keep on going up. That's how I get through filling out all my tax forms. Right? But sundu is enthusiasm. But it's not any type of enthusiasm, like for beautiful music or vacationing and so forth. That's just, having fun. Now this has a very specific gloss to it within Buddhism, and that is its delight in virtue. This could be wisdom, it could be serving others, it could be cultivating shamatha, it could be any type of meaningful virtuous activity, and taking delight in it. So when your practice is empowered by virya, it's said it's like water flowing downhill. When it's powered only by diligence, fortitude, then it's beating the donkey uphill. And so this turns out to be quite important as I let the plot unravel. So virya is really enthusiasm, but again, enthusiasm with a specific twist to it. Not just enthusiasm for, gourmet food. It's enthusiasm for dharma, right? That's important. And enthusiasm, this one, virya, is balanced with samadhi. Surprise. So it's faith and intelligence, hyphen wisdom, and then enthusiasm balanced with samadhi, and samadhi is that single-pointed focus of attention. It doesn't have to be narrow. I just want to emphasize that. Often people miss this point. They think samadhi is always kind of a pinpoint, narrow, tunnel vision. It's not. It may be, but no. It means your attention is totally collected. You may be attending to all sentient beings. You may be having samadhi on the surrounding landscape. Well, that's pretty big. Samadhi on the sky. You could, right? But it means your attention is focused. It's not fragmented. It's not dispersed. It's not agitated. Composed, focused, boom, there it is. So those two are balanced. Enthusiasm and, let's call it concentration. And then, of course, since it's a set of 5, then there has to be one left over. And that's mindfulness. And mindfulness, again, is bearing in mind the intended, whatever you wish to focus on, something familiar, bearing whatever it is in mind, bearing in mind without forgetfulness, without distraction. Okay? So we can be forgetful if I'm attending to Mary Kay's face, for example. So her face is my object of mindfulness. I can do so, but then I can fall into forgetfulness, but just by spacing out, just like that. And then I forget what I was looking at. Maybe I'm sleepy or drowsy or dull or bored, in which case the attention retracts, it withdraws. It's not getting excited, agitated, being carried away. It just no longer comes out to meet its object, right? Come out to meet the object, not like that. So that's a type of forgetfulness. But of course, there's another way we lose mindfulness, and that is looking over at Gache. What's she doing? What's she doing? And then every time, what's Gache doing? And then I forget about the person I was focusing on, Mary Kay. So that's the two ways. So without distraction, without forgetfulness. So mindfulness is that which enables one to balance the other 4. It's like like in a seesaw, the kids' little exercise toy, whatever, instrument. It's that which is in the middle. It enables the possibility of balance. It's the pivot. It's the midpoint. Let's run through these briefly, because time is short and we want to get to meditation, which is going to be different this morning. So faith. Look at that one. Faith, confidence. It entails trust. Classically, I'm going to run through this really quickly, but it's very, very rich material. Faith is of 3 types. This is in the Buddhist context. But again, I think you'll find it's universal. And that is faith. There's faith of appreciation. And really is then appreciation. I may listen to, let's say, Andrei Segovia, recordings of Andrei Segovia playing guitar, just one of the world's greatest masters. And I may feel a great deal of appreciation for his artistry, the finesse, the delicacy, the sheer beauty of how he plays and the pieces he chooses to play, both. And so that's appreciation. I'm appreciating him, his guitar, his music, his skill, right? That's the type of faith, right? And then it might get in my mind, I would like to play like that. At least I'd like to approximate that. I may probably never be that great, but I would love to be able to make such music. I wonder if I could get guitar lessons. I wonder if he has any apps. If he left anything behind, Andrei Segovia's tips. And so out of appreciation, if I have no appreciation, I have no interest whatsoever in learning how to master guitar like him. But if I appreciate, then I might think, boy, I'd like to be able to do that. And so that's the second type of faith. It's something more than appreciation, it's aspiration, right? But then there's another element that's necessary, belief. If I were a double amputee, I had no hands, then I would have a hard time believing that I'll ever be able to play guitar like Andrei Segovia. Not going to happen, right? So then there won't be any belief. Or maybe if I believe that he was simply born that way, that he was simply a born little, 3-year-old playing a magnificent guitar, then I would say, well, there's no hope, because he was a guitar tuku, like that. But if I believe that in fact of course he was naturally gifted, but he went through extensive training, absolute dedication to his art, and that if I too apply myself, I can at least to some extent approximate that type of expertise. And so belief that training is something that skill is something that can be trained. There's a way to do it, and that I actually have the capacity. I have fingers that work. My hearing is pretty good. I have a little bit of musical ability. So then belief. Well, if I have all three of those, then I could actually sit down and I can make some progress, right? And so this is faith. Faith is sometimes presented as blind faith or something that is antithetical to science, and that's simply propaganda. Sorry, it's just propaganda by materialist atheists who just despise religion and they want to make fun of it out of their own stupidity and ignorance. So I have no respect for that. Blind faith occurs everywhere, in politics, in science, in art, in philosophy, and so forth. Blind faith is what people do when they're not very bright. But not all unbright people are found in religion. They're quite evenly distributed. And so faith motivates. I mean, that's the real point. Faith motivates. Who's ever going to... Show me the person who has ever mastered guitar or anything else and didn't have appreciation, didn't have aspiration, and didn't have belief that they could actually do it. It just fell in their lap. They just woke up one morning and they just started playing guitar brilliantly, or anything else, I think you'd have to look really hard. And so faith is absolutely indispensable for anything we do. Wholesome or unwholesome. Faith that you can rob a bank, kind of same thing. But this, of course, is faith in something that is meaningful. But now this has to be balanced with intelligence. It's not enough just to have those three types of faith, or confidence, including belief, appreciation, aspiration, but it has to be in balance with intelligence. Okay, now where will I find a good teacher? Am I too old to learn? What kind of guitar shall I get? And so apply intelligence, and then you're receiving the training, and then you listen carefully, and you understand. You maybe have question and answer. You clear out qualms. Is it okay to have my thumb crooked around the shaft of the guitar, or do I really need to keep it underneath? I've seen some brilliant guitars have it crooked all around, but then I was told, no, keep it down on the bottom. Is this important? Like you need a sit point, like when I go supine, So you have to have intelligence to balance the faith. If it's too much faith and too little intelligence, you wind up being dogmatic, stupid, blocked, rigid, closed-minded. And if it's all intelligence and no faith, you'll be a real smart aleck. But you won't get anything done. If you have only faith in yourself, if you're just really smart, really clever, well, you'll be very entertaining. They'll invite you to parties to tell jokes, but you're not going to achieve anything. Forget about it, right? And so apply that to Dharma. I gave something secular just to show, hey, this is universal. But if we hear about Dharma, maybe in some cases we meet an individual. Some people just meet the Dalai Lama, or they meet some other exceptional individual, Buddhist or otherwise, and they appreciate this person's presence and way of speaking, the humility, the kindness and so forth. They appreciate that. And then they listen to him, let's say the Dalai Lama, and they appreciate what he's saying, that it's meaningful. And then they aspire, I think I'd like to become like that. I'd like to know more. I'd like to gain such experience and realization. And then there's belief. Is that possible? Was he simply born that way? Is this a valid tradition, or is this all hocus pocus, scams, conspiracy and so forth to trick us and all that kind of stuff, superstition, religious nonsense. So what is it? If the faith is not there, then one will not get anywhere in Dharma practice. So the faith, this I'm speaking a bit intellectually, but faith, when it kind of gets on the ground where people live, faith in an individual, faith in your Lama, faith in your Sangha, faith in your lineage, faith in the teachings you received, faith in the enlightenment of the Buddhas and other great beings. It brings a warmth, it brings a moisture, it brings enthusiasm, it brings inspiration, it brings blessing. And so, in all of the momentum nowadays for secular Buddhism, and I'm getting invitations all over the place nowadays. Alan, please come and deliver your stuff, but do it in a secular way. Don't mention Buddha. Don't mention religion. Just give it because we're very skeptical here. Can I use the word? Bullshit. You're not skeptical, you're just closed-minded. You're not skeptical of your beliefs. You're not skeptical of your values. You're just skeptical of somebody else's. And then you demand that we cut off our limbs to correspond to your beliefs, as if we hold the same ones. Bullshit. I'll tell you who the first secular Buddhist was. Buddha. He never appealed to authority. He discarded authority, the authority of the Vedas, the authorities of the Brahmins, the authority of tradition, the authority of sacred texts. He said, never mind, check with your experience. That's what he said, right? In the Kalama Sutta. Check with your experience. See for yourself. Is it beneficial? Is it not beneficial? Pragmatic, experiential, radically empirical. The first secular Buddhist was the Buddha. So there. And he had a lot of faith in his own enlightenment. He had a lot of confidence in what he had discovered. It has to be balanced with intelligence, though. Faith can become stupid. It's easy. It's just filled with inertia. My guru said, therefore it must be true. My Dharma buddies say it's true. My fellow neuroscientists all believe the mind is the brain. Oh gosh, it must be true. They say so. Without ever checking out, does anybody actually know what they're talking about? Or is it just a bunch of sheep bleating the same melody? So it must be balanced. If it's all intelligence but no faith, you are on a bare desert island in the middle of a very salty sea. You're going to die of dehydration out there. It's dry. Intelligence, I've known some really brilliant people, and some of them are so dry, you wonder how they can breathe. And I've known some very faithful people, very moist, but I can hardly have a conversation with them. Just because, their beliefs are so silly. I just try to avoid anything. Let's talk about golf. something else. Balance. Okay, then we have another balance. We're going quickly here. But faith, but here's the point here, just to drop right there. These two are faculties. They can turn into powers. The power of faith, well, that's a power, that's a natural force in the universe. The so-called placebo effect. Pretty awesome. It's faith. It's faith. And it's never been understood scientifically. Scientists don't understand it. And the pharmaceutical industry tries to ward it off like the demon. Like the great the great demon of placebo effect. No, we want to sell our drugs. We don't know how to sell placebo effect. Poor things. So it has to be balanced there. Faith, which brings the moisture, the enthusiasm, the joy, the blessings. Intelligence that keeps it real. And then we have virya, enthusiasm, and samadhi. It's an interesting pairing. I didn't make up this pairing. This is classic teaching. But the enthusiasm is just that. It's the joy, the delight, the inspiration, the eagerness to devote oneself to practice. And where does that come from? Well, this is why whenever I'm teaching meditation, I don't just give guided meditations. We don't meditate 11 hours a day. I think it's really cool. Like teachers like Goenka just have people meditate 11 hours a day with very little teaching. I think it's really cool. I took it. I took his retreat, found it very cathartic. What happens to a lot of people, though, when the retreat's over, then their meditation just goes right down, like a toboggan right down the hill. Because there's so little theoretical framework there, that then they just start becoming a Goenka junkie. Or a Mahamudra junkie, Dzogchen junkie, and so forth, a Lama junkie, just trying to go from one contact high to another. I'm not picking on Goenka's people at all. But it's a tendency that people have. If they don't have a good theoretical understanding of what they're doing and what's the reason for it, what's the context, what's the meaning of what they're doing. This is why I try to strike a balance between practice and theory, that the practice brings life to the theory and the theory brings meaning to the practice. The two are balanced. And so where does enthusiasm come? By understanding the big picture. What's the meaning of it? What's the nature of it? What's the applicability of it? The teachings like Shamatha or what have you. Reflecting upon the teachings. Calling for a flow of blessings. Reflecting upon the qualities of those who have gained great realization on the path one wishes to follow. So this is, as Gyatso Rinpoche emphasized to me, this reflection upon the context and arousing the aspiration, arousing the appreciation, arousing faith, and thereby arousing enthusiasm. That's what you do between sessions. Between sessions. That's when you read the biographies of the great yogis, you read the sutras, you have discussions with the Lama and Dharma friends and so forth and so on, to really arouse that aspiration of the enthusiasm for practice. But then when you sit down and you're just practicing, then just samadhi. Just do it. Don't keep on revving up the engine. When you're practicing mindfulness of breathing, don't bring out the cheerleading squad. Go, go, go. Give me an S, give me an H. Don't do that. Just focus on the practice. Don't think about, it's going to be good, it's going to be really good one of these days. One day I'm going to be blissful. Not yet, but don't do that. Don't mix the two. When you're doing it, just do it, and that's samadhi. Don't multitask. Don't try to talk yourself into it. And just do it. We're back to the Nike slogan, good slogan. That was what my primary Theravada teacher told me. Balangota Ananda Maitreya, great master from Sri Lanka. He trained me in mindfulness of breathing. And I was asking him various theoretical questions. And he said, in 1980, I think before Nike came out with their slogan, he said, just do it. There might, this is speculation, I have to admit, there might have been some Nike guy around. Heard him say that and said, we can use that. I don't. That is speculation. Okay. But you see the balance? If it's all enthusiasm, you're bubble, you never actually sit on the cushion. You talk the good talk, you're all blah, 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 devotion and hoopy-doopy, but you never actually sit on the cushion and do the hard work. But if you're just sitting on the cushion and the hard work, you have no enthusiasm. It's going to get pretty, you're back on the desert isle. It's going to get pretty barren. Just focusing, what are you doing? Doing the same thing I used to do. Balance. And what holds it all together? Mindfulness. So these are strengths to be cultivated, faculties to be turned into powers. We already have enthusiasm. Good, turn it into a power. We already have samadhi. Everybody can concentrate to some extent. Turn it into a power. And we already have the faculty of mindfulness. Turn it into a power. Because it's mindfulness that holds these all together and enables them to be balanced. I think what I just shared with you is really brilliant. It has nothing to do with me at all, but I really think it's brilliant. And then, here where it's most important is in the context of Dharma. Take that same grid, that same fivefold grid, and now apply it to business, to mental health, to education, to athletics. I think you're going to find it actually works everywhere, right? It's not necessarily virtuous in those contexts, but this is a really smart grid, straight from the Buddha. Straight from the Buddha. So no wonder it's brilliant. So I gave root text in one word, bullshit. And now I have to give commentary. I get impatient sometimes when people refuse to look at their own assumptions, their own beliefs, and simply assume that their views are superior to those of these pre-scientific Buddhists, these superstitious Buddhists, those religious people. I get impatient with that, as I do with any type of dogmatism. I don't care whether it's Buddhist dogmatism, materialist, Christian, or anything else. I get impatient with it, and that's where the word bullshit comes out from. To get impatient with it, because it's so pompous but closed-minded, and it's a bad combination. You know? At the same time, my root guru, His Holiness Dalai Lama, has written 2 books now on secular ethics. And he's in multiple places, including here in Tsongkhapa Institute, 4 times. He's encouraged them to create an academy for Buddhism and science that really emphasizes a secular approach. I'm working with a group of people in Bangalore in India. The same thing. Take a secular approach. Don't emphasize Buddhism. Secular approach. Told me the same thing, of course, with cultivating emotional balance. When it was his idea. With this meeting of fine Buddhist scholars and this outstanding group of scientists, he said, do something secular. Draw from the wisdom of the Buddhist tradition. Make it secular, so it's beneficial to everyone. When I hear this from him, I'm just hearing Chenrezig. I really am. I'm just hearing Chenrezig, who is just saying, I want to include all sentient beings. They can hate religion. I love them. They can despise Buddhism. They think Buddhism is reincarnation, karma, mumbo jumbo. I love them. I want to help them. Well, what can I do except for admire that? And so the whole approach to secular Buddhism is basically accommodating people's refusal to examine their own beliefs, their own values, their own way of life. They want something that's completely compatible with and will make their lives more comfortable, more meaningful, happier. And the Buddha, His Holiness Dalai Lama, says, I'll help. Not being judgmental, not looking down on them, not criticizing them for their, closed-mindedness, arrogance, ethnocentricity, and so forth. Just saying, I'm here to help, period. That's why he's my guru. I try to follow him and not follow this little beast inside of me that says, screw it. But he's right. I mean, my great joy is just be able to freely speak from my faith, my appreciation, my joy and delight in Dharma, with no holds barred, not have to hold anything back. That's why I just feel so at ease, But when in people who are very suspicious, have strong antipathy towards religion, anything that is contrary to their materialistic beliefs or other kind of beliefs, then I have to show reserve, I have to show restraint. I can't use the word bullshit very often. It's very, very selective. But it's skillful means. And simply, I'm going to be having you write up a whole new set of notes. Because I've agreed to go to a major university, spend 2 weeks there, and they say, don't mention Buddha or Buddhism. Don't mention religion. And I wrote to my host, said, well, could I challenge materialism? Maybe not. Okay, you cut off my right hand, and I cut off my left hand, and so I'm going to, okay. I'm going to basically write up whole new sets of notes for what I'm teaching all the time. Shamatha, 4 applications of mindfulness, 4 immeasurables. I'm going to write it in the nature of genuine happiness. I'm going to write up a whole set of notes. New set of notes. Deliver all the goods and no reference to the Buddha. As if I made this all up myself. I'm so smart, I'm as smart as I can be, look how smart I am. They wouldn't mind that. But if I refer to the Buddha, then they start breaking out in hives, having an allergic reaction. So, okay, if that's what helps. But then, of course, what can happen? I've met many people who've gone through an MBSR. It was a totally secular training, and it's good that it is. I've met many people who've gone through that, and then their appetite is whetted. They're doing these very basic practices, very simplified, decontextualized, no ethics, no bodhicitta, none of that. But they get some benefit, and they start getting appreciation, and maybe some aspiration. And they kind of then looking around, is there anything more? Said, oh, maybe CEB. Or maybe Rasmus Hujgaard, he's a very good man, Human Potential Project. A bit more. Good, that's good, a bit more. And then one thing leads to another, And maybe they'll find their path is deep Christian contemplative practice. Great, hallelujah, I'm delighted. With no reservation, I'm delighted. If that's your path, go for it. It's very, very rich, very deep. Maybe they'll find it in Hinduism, in Judaism. Maybe they'll find it elsewhere. Maybe they'll find it in positive psychology. So this is an ongoing issue for me, just patience, patience. At the same time, my innermost heart, my deepest motivation for wanting to teach it all. I've taught so much, everything's on podcast by now. I've written 40 books, do you need more? 20 are translations, 20 are mine. Really, do you need 41? Maybe it's all there. And so why teach? Why not read my book, listen to the podcast, have a nice day. I'm finished, I'm retiring. Here's my gold watch. Well, it's okay, it's brass, but it looks gold. And it's path. It's path. And for that one, it's no holds barred. We just bring in the immense richness and depth and beauty and magnificence of Buddha Dharma, and don't pretend otherwise. It's not dogmatism. This is where the depth is, reaching the path. Other people can teach a secular Buddhism. They do it very well. I'm sure many do it better than I do. But I'm still have to do it, so I do. Path. That's why I'm still teaching.